Good morning, Facebook land. I was gonna go live on Instagram too, but my phone didn't charge last night. So, just here with our cup of coffee. Make sure you have some sort of beverage, just because I tend to talk a little bit. So, be comfortable. Get yourself a croissant, whatever it is. This is going to now be weekly. So, we're going to jump right into it. And what's up for 2020? That's the biggest theme. I have an actual outline. If you have ever watched, good morning, Aaliyah, beautiful lady. If you've ever seen any of my lives, I never have an outline, but because there's so much going on, even just in the first quarter of 2020, I needed to this could turn into a 3-hour live stream. So I have some notes. But the very first announcement is that this is going to become a weekly show. So it has been over the last year. I've done, I put number 17, but my VA is actually in the process of figuring out exactly how many there are, because I'll be good for a couple of weeks and do it consistently and then take 4 months off. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I was thinking about starting a podcast, but I just do so much better in front of the camera, and I'm such a big hands talker, and I can actually convert. I found out, silly me, that I can convert the video into audio only. So that means that I can also still have the podcast, and I don't have to make extra content, which is, I'm all about simple, sustainable solutions, simple, sustainable solutions. That's what one of my coaches used to always say. It's the best tagline ever, so it just sticks in my head. My cat's in here messing around, my only cat that's left, so if I have to let him out, just FYI, because sometimes he gets extra annoying. Okay, so that's the first one. So this will be a weekly thing every week. I had some technical difficulties this morning, and my coffee wasn't ready, but every week at 9 a.m. Mountain, Jesus, obviously this cup of coffee is still full. This will be happening, and we'll have a different thing. So next week we're going to be talking about the golden Christed dragon, and then the week after that we're going to talk about gratitude and releasing the year gracefully and getting really revved up and doing some awesome intention settings for the new year. So those of you who don't know me, I've had a really large influx of potential clients, friend requests. So I'm going to light this candle, and while I do that, I'm just going to introduce myself. I am Caryn Terres, and I am the Dragon Doula. And what that means is that I help you to birth your higher self here in 3D and to really know that you are worth having it all. So if you want to be a senator and a best-selling author and a Broadway star, or if you want to be a mega billionaire and also a Nobel Peace Prize winner, if you want to be a world schooling mom who travels, who also speaks on stages everywhere but is able to travel with her family, if you are a CEO trying to figure out how to work more efficiently and not as many hours so you have more time with your kids, it all comes down to whole life alignment. You have to make sure that every area of your life is in balance, that your mind, body, spirit, your emotions, your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body are all lined up and feeding each other, instead of what most of us are at, which is at a point of depletion, where things are going really good in one area, but another area is really life sucking, right? So it's all about having a beautiful, prosperous, amazing life that's moving, and you're in just this river of well-being. And when things do happen, you know that they're there for lessons and not as a punishment. It's also, I also teach a lot about discipline as self-worship, and how you can teach so many things that we learn once we do hire coaches. We don't really always know how to teach that to our children. And so many spiritual entrepreneurs wish that they had the guts, the courage to homeschool, and they don't, because there's so many limiting beliefs around what the schooling system's supposed to be, the education system. So I am a homeschooling mom of 3, as well as a business owner. I have 2 businesses. So there is a lot going on in my life, and it's why I am so excited to be bringing everything to you, which is why I wanted to do this live so that everyone can be caught up, so that when I start announcing things at rapid fire, you have somewhere back to be like, what the hell is she talking about? Because it's going to be epic. It's 2019, my year was epic, or sorry, for the year 2019, my word was epic, and for 2020 my word is bliss. So I just want to live this life of bliss and just find pleasure in the little things, which is why I am being so specific about which clients I am taking on, because there's going to be a lot of changes, and the only people that I am available to work with are ones who are going to be able to move through as I change, because I go through about as rapidly as the moon changes, that's about as rapidly as I change. So I work specifically with clients who are able to move at that quantum flight level and who aren't stuck in assuming that there has to be like a pause. We're in this for the marathon. Like this, there's no more sprint and take a break for a couple of months. This is like constant maintenance, constant clearing, constant up leveling, because who you are now isn't even a 100th of the potential that you actually have, and it's my job to take that potential and turn it into the kinetic, turn it into the actual movement that pushes you forward and pushes you into quantum flight, so that you are living the most amazing life that you can imagine, and feel that you belong there and know that you are worthy of being in that space, and that you really have enough value that merits you receiving the dream life that you want so much. I want to be you. And Aaliyah, can I tell you? That is the number one thing that people say to me. Can I tell you that? Thank you so much, but I want you to be you when you grow up. But that really is, I have a dozen or so people that's what they say when they watch my lives. Yeah, being me is awesome. But I can also tell you 2 years ago, when I was a new mom of 3 and was just barely learning how to meditate, my life was not awesome. My roof had collapsed in this room. So you guys see this cool black. This is the massage room. So it works so that the light's not like right in my client's eyes. But there's actually like, there was a hole in my wall and we haven't gotten it completely fixed yet. So like there's sheetrock up there, but it's not, like the crown molding is still messed up from my roof collapsing from water damage after my first ever new moon wishes. It was new moon in Virgo, and I wished to know how to balance my budget better, to not have to care about everything being perfect and something else. And within 24 hours, the roof collapsed in this room, and we had to replace the roof. We had only bought this month 6 months before, bought the house 6 months before. So that was super fun. Super fun. But that was one of the like big wake-up calls for me. Like, I do my first ever new moon ritual really as an adult, okay, because I had done a lot of these as a kid. You guys have to realize that I was raised Catholic until I was 8, and then after that I was Unitarian Universalist and pagan. So energy, chakras, all of that stuff is not stuff that was new to me when I was an adult. I had to kind of go through the whole like, shit, my parents were right phase. But my first ever new moon wish is literally my roof collapse. So that was one of those big signs of like, yeah, okay, sweet, you're finally awake, you finally want to do this, let's go. And anyone, like, people that I was hanging out with 2 years ago, I don't even talk to most of them. Like, I just did my Christmas cards, and I used to send out like over 100 Christmas cards every year. And this year I made it to like 50, and we have 10 extra for those people who send it and I didn't remember them or whatever, right? And that's all okay. So I'm saying this because so often we get stuck in this belief system that we have to belong, and who we're around is what justifies us belonging. And Brene Brown is a huge influence for me. I read all of her books, and Braving the Wilderness is all about true belonging and belonging to yourself, which is something that I had to learn how to do. I was always one who was trying to fit in. I'm 6 feet tall, but when I was in high school, you wouldn't have known that because I could like pop a hip and move my shoulder and do all this stuff so that I was like this tall, and no one like really noticed, but my back did and my whole body did, and all the trauma and all this stuff that I carried in my psoas and in my gut did, and all this extra weight and all this extra baggage that I was carrying around because I didn't feel it was this weird dichotomy of a lot of the times not feeling good enough or smart enough or pretty enough, which is what so many people deal with, and also feeling like I was too much, like that I was too smart, that I was too tall, that I was too loud, that I was too talkative, that I had too many opinions. So while so much of the coaching world focuses on learning how to own your worth, being like you are good enough to have this thing, I focus more on being okay with being big and bright and loud and opinionated, and at least I'm fucking doing something, and at least I'm willing to take the flack. That's something that in this day and age, we're so concerned about what other people think about us that we're not willing to do what we know is right out of fear of what will happen. I have people ask me a lot of the times, like, what, like, how is your husband okay with the fact that you post naked pictures of yourself on the internet? Hold, please. And to this I say, I'm 6 feet tall. Yeah, Abby, I'm 6 feet tall. Yes. Some days 6'1", depending on my doctor's report. 5'11" to 6'1", all three of those are in there. Has to do with when you go to the doctor. But do you guys like my new robe, by the way? It's so silky and soft. I thought I'd wear it for you. Okay, so they asked me, how is your husband okay with you posting naked pictures of yourself on the internet? And I'm like, it's not his body, first of all. So let's make sure that we all understand the level of feminism that runs through my body. And by feminism, I mean equality, okay? I'm not talking about the suppression of men, but how many of you guys have seen the Pyramid Codes on Netflix? Give me some hearts or some likes, something. Well, I get this sage. I forgot to light my sage. I have dragon's blood sage. It smells so good. But I break mine apart to make it last longer and it burns easier. Anyway, so the Pyramid Codes on Netflix are really good. If you haven't watched it, I recommend it. But I was just rewatching it because it's 7 episodes or something like that. And they were talking about matriarchy and how we have this idea in this matriarchal society, or that matriarchy is the opposite of patriarchy, right? We have this somehow weird idea that for us to be matriarchal, ooh, there it is. Here, let me just send some of that to y'all. Get some dragon blood sage cleansing up in there. Okay. Oh, see, now I feel, okay, here we go. There we go. I just need to do this right away, but I just get so excited. Going to watch it now. It's super good, Aaliyah. You'll love it. So, especially if you have any connection to ancient Egypt. So I've learned in my past lives that the gods' past lives are really interesting to me, okay? So before I tell you about the naked pictures, let me preface this real quick. I don't do past life work with my clients because I think that my clients need to be healed from their past lives. We do 1 or 2 really intense, big clearings, and then we're done with it. And we get a lot of that clearing, a lot of the stuff that you spend months and months with other people on, I get that out of the way in the first month so that we can focus the next 3 months. I'm going to tell you guys about this in a minute, focused. I would need all the dragon's blood, anything. Yeah. Okay, so back to the naked picture. So first of all, it's not his body, right? He doesn't get to decide what happens. Second of all, I have every intention, and you guys know this, so I will just continue to state it because it's happening, to be president of the United States. I'm going to be running in 2024, which is the year that I can legally do it. I thought that I had to wait till 2028, but I reread the Constitution, and actually I turned 35 in 2023, so the next year by January I'd be 35 and I'd be old enough to run. So I am running for president in 2024 and will win, obviously. Like, there's no question. But there are going to be a lot of people who, what do? They use scandals and they try to get underneath your skin, right? They try to get in underneath you and use your own worthiness and sense of belonging and sense of being a part of the tribe against you. And then a lot of people develop what my mentor, who taught me a lot of this, so I just use her same language, what she refers to as the brittle feminine. So I was just talking about a second ago the matriarchy and the equality of men and women. So when you're in but that's like your sacred divine feminine, when you're like in that perfect balance. You can be in the brittle feminine, which is the I don't give a fuck attitude. Like, do you remember The Devil Wears Prada and Meryl Streep's character? That character is in her brittle fucking feminine, okay? She is harsh and not connected, and then Anne Hathaway, I can't believe I'm thinking about this movie, but obviously it's resonating with someone because I wouldn't think of it otherwise. That's what I love about being a channel, is that I don't even have to think about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's the perfect analogy. So then Anne Hathaway is the opposite. She is, by the end of the movie, they're both in their divine balance feminine, you would hope. But Meryl Streep's in her brittle feminine, super like, and my way or the highway, you got to do it my way. And then the other side of that is Anne Hathaway, who is in her swampy feminine, which means that she has no boundaries at all. So both of them have really no boundaries, but me, yes. So Anne Hathaway's in her swampy feminine because, like, she's a total fucking pushover, okay? So I want you to imagine, if that analogy didn't work for you, obviously it works for Aaliyah, but if it doesn't work for you, just imagine, like, a badass, super strong-willed, on the outside seems super strong-willed, total bitch in the boardroom, total, like, having a great time, like, living life up in the clubs if she's a little bit, in New York City, just that type of person that has that very, like, oh shit, like, do not piss her off or you are going to end up in the river, okay? We all have that sort of idea. And then the opposite of it is, like, Cinderella or the doormat or the person. Yeah, those two figures are extreme, right? But by the end of that movie, they both have, like, balanced each other. So that movie, I like it a lot because while there is a little bit of rom-com in it, it's mostly about two women learning how to find balance and find their sacred feminine at the end, where Meryl Streep's character has softened and Anne Hathaway's character has created boundaries and can stand up for herself. So when I am posting naked pictures of myself on the internet that are all very tasteful, by the way, and absolutely up to code by Facebook and Instagram standards, it's because I am a body worker, okay? I have seen thousands of not dead. I've seen a couple hundred dead bodies. I went to cadaver labs. That's what the next thought was. But I've seen thousands of bodies, naked bodies in my life, right? And like I just said, I've been to cadaver labs, so unlike a lot of massage therapists, I actually was trained being able to see underneath the skin and really get the layers of the body, and also was trained in Eastern modalities where I know how each organ relates to your emotions. So when I say whole life alignment and that I can help with all four bodies, it's because that is what my training is, and it's training that I have learned not only in this lifetime but in other lifetimes. I am 30 years old and people meet me and they're like, you are like 1,000 years old as far as like the wisdom that I just know. I read something and I'm like, I didn't learn anything new. If anything, this just confirmed it. And while so many people are like, oh yeah, that's law of attraction, you're just confirming what you already know that way, we say that in a bad way. Like, that it's a bad way that we're attracting things that confirm what we're knowing. And we say that because of the current political climate, so we can turn it around. So I post the naked pictures so that when they get found, I can just laugh at everyone at the press conference and say, yeah, the photographer's name is Paul Dwayne. He's really cool. Have his number if you need him. He's out of Salt Lake City. That's where he still is. Because it doesn't matter. It's a body, okay? We have so much fucking shame around our bodies that is just, we all have one. We were all born naked, okay? A huge thing that I tell my clients to do, they do naked mirror mantras, and they fucking hate them. They despise them at first. And then by the end of it, they're like, I love staring at my body naked. Let me tell you about all the changes that'll happen, like bigger booties, bigger boobs, smaller waistline, just like more physique. And they're not changing. They're not like going to the gym more often. They're not like purposefully doing anything big. What they're doing is being able to stare at themselves naked and be like, I am a fucking badass. It is safe for me to feel absolutely delicious in my body. Because a lot of this also comes down to shame. So many people focus on shame, again, on the focus of you're not good enough. And so we're trying to lift you up and lift you up. But there's a whole group of people who are really the ideal client for me, are the ones who are afraid of, like, what are the implications of having millions of dollars? There's a whole new level of fear. Like, I was watching The Blacklist yesterday, and there was a whole episode on, like, kidnapping super rich people's kids to help fund terrorism. And I was like, there's a new fear that I get to process. I had never really thought about what would happen if I had millions and millions of dollars and one of my kids got kidnapped because of it, right? Or again, your face being all over the newspaper with, the picture of you from your prom, which was like absolutely, maybe that was the day that you were raped and you were like, I do not want people to find the prom photo and to have to relive that hell. So everything that I do with my clients is so that all of those stories that right now make you feel like you want to throw up, all those stories that you have that own power over you, you are able to claim your power back from those stories. And those stories, you don't forget them, you don't release them, you don't do any of that shit, because without those stories, you're not who you are. The problem isn't that you have all this trauma or all these stories that happen. It's that you see it as trauma. Okay? I'm going to re-say that because I fucked it up. The problem isn't that you have all these stories that made you who you are. It's that you see these stories as trauma. You see these stories as bad. And that's only because of the age you were when it happened to you. If you're able to remove yourself, which is your capability as being a human, is to be able to think about the future and think about the past. It's one of the reasons why this week was so hard with my cat dying, is that I know that they don't have conscious linear time the same way we do. So every day he was waking up suffering for however many days, versus when a human is dying, they know that they've been suffering for however many days and they're hoping that it ends, or they can dream about what it would be like if they were in recovery or all that. That's what I think Therefore I Am is actually talking about, is our ability to conceptualize time and know that we actually exist only because we can remember the past and think about the future. But we're actually only ever living right now, which is all that actually matters, which is really the biggest thing, is what really matters to you. And when you drop what matters out of your energetic and mental and emotional fields, you'll notice that your physical matter changes, okay? I tell people all the time, I lost more than half of my body weight. 2 years ago, I was a size 14. A year ago, I was a size 8. I'm now a size 4, and I don't go to the gym. Okay, that's not a thing for me. And I'm not saying that you can go and do all of this, because it wasn't ever a conscious thought. I wasn't trying to lose the weight. I was trying to love me no matter what. Because at the end of the day, life is a video game. And the only rule is do not die. And yet, most of the people I work with, men and women alike, the first session, we figure out that they're only 2 or 3 disasters away from suicide. Every single one of them. Every client I've ever had, which is why I posted the thing I did this morning. They think that they're coming to me because they're trying to leave their shitty marriage. They think that they're coming to me because they want to know how to 10 times their income. They think that they're coming to me because their kids won't listen or they're about to get kicked out of school. They think they're coming to me because they want to know how to homeschool their kids because they're home all the time anyway, but they're super overwhelmed. But really what it is that they don't think that they're worthy of having the life that they would have if XYZ had actually happened. And not only do they not feel worthy of receiving that awesome life, they're only 2 or 3 big disasters away from ending their own lives because that's going to be just better that way. Yeah, that's not something to be proud, and yet we do it. So I'll say I play this game called So Then What? And it's got a lot of different names, but it's the way that I play it. And okay, so what's the worst thing you can think of happening right now? And I have them write it down, and I say, okay, so then why does that matter, or then what happens? Okay, so then what? So what, like, why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? And it'll go down, and then I'm nothing. And then I should just evaporate. Well, and then I should just go kill myself. A lot of the times it's, well, then I'm nothing. And we have to realize that when you think, well, then I've just failed and I'm nothing, that means that you don't exist and you are choosing non-existence because you weren't, and then again, good enough, you didn't succeed in whatever eyes. And it's usually the eyes of the tribe. It's the eyes of society. So what I do with my clients is help them to see that there is no scenario in which they self-check out. And as soon as there is no fucking scenario, period, you are alone under a bridge, your husband's taken it all, you've got it and all, then you've lost it all, then your husband's taken your kids, your family has disowned you, you have to walk your way across the United States and you're living under a fucking bridge. You're able to play that scenario so well in your mind that you feel that you're there because you're actually able to, through astral projection and astral travel, move through timelines and can live these scenarios out fully and feel the entirety of the scenario. And if at the end of this scenario you don't kill yourself, then I've done my job. Because that means that there's nothing that makes you leave, which means that you're always going to keep going. Another huge part of this is entitlement. So many of my clients have already made it, and their worst case scenario is losing it all and having to rebuild it. And that comes from this sense of entitlement that the school system actually put into you of, well, if you only work X amount, you'll still get passed through. Or, oh, you're only just a couple of points away, so let me move you through here. Or just the little corners. And we see corner cutting as a negative thing. And I see it as shortcuts are the way to get what I want faster. And it's not, and I'm going to hurt anyone to do it. It's really like consciously, okay, let's play out scenarios. So I teach my clients how to play out the scenarios. I teach them how to have, masterminds and board meetings with some of their, maybe you want to talk to Nikola Tesla. Maybe you want to know what was going on in Queen Elizabeth's head. Maybe you want to be able to have a conversation with Barack Obama. And I teach you how to go to the astral plane and have board meetings there. I also help you with, again, the clearing of the bloodlines. That's something that happens in 1 or 2 sessions with me, not the entirety of it. I even offer breakthrough will be. So let's jump into that. Let's do that now that I've been rambling. Well, telling you what's going on for the last 30 minutes. Let's go into what's actually happening. Look at all these wows and likes. Hold on. Let me see if there's comments. Hold on. All the dragons, but yes, post the past lives for the win. It can be jarring to do past life, but it's awesome. So past life work, I'll just touch on that. For me, it's about learning. So you guys saw the post where I figured out that a famous ancestor of mine, Grace O'Malley, is someone that I've been connected to my whole life, ever since I learned that I was related to her. She was a famous Irish pirate queen. And I found out that I was her. So I incarnated as her. But that didn't happen until after I had found out that my whole life, the only thing all psychics could tell me was that I was a consort of Joan of Arc, that I was like her confidant, her best friend. Every psychic, it didn't matter who it was, from when I was like 7 until I was 30, knew that I was connected to Joan of Arc some way. What I didn't know was that, okay, I'm going to make a big announcement. Oh, see, I feel some like fear coming up right now that you all are going to judge me. So I'm just going to say it. I betrayed her, and that's why she burned at the stake. I burned with her. I mean, if that's any consolation, the English didn't like take pity on me. I thought they were going to. So that was really interesting to finally release that, because I actually did a meditation where Joan of Arc presented me with, no shit, golden dragon armor, which I didn't know that was going to happen during the meditation, a guided meditation I was on. And when that happened, that's when I like felt this like sense of that I was being forgiven, and I was like, forgiven for what? And I got to see, like, I was hacking and coughing and all sorts of crazy stuff was happening. And yet, because I've done so much work, I become very grateful for my physical body being able to process, because these things happened on the 3D plane, so they have to be released on the 3D plane too. So coughing or throwing up or crying or laughing hysterically, or like sometimes I start jolting and it looks like I'm having a seizure. All of these things I know are my way of my body releasing, and I can just fall into trust and gratitude that it's what needs to be done. And that's the reason why I don't have to do session after session after session, and why after that one super intense meditation, a couple of days later, I found out this next layer of this past life that I needed to know about being a pirate and all the karma around murdering people. And Grace O'Malley, like doing research on her, she actually was a very compassionate pirate. She wouldn't kill unless she needed to, but we all know that she killed. Like, I killed people, but was also very, very wealthy and was very good friends with Queen Elizabeth, but in secret, and all this stuff that I didn't even have access to, because this first thing that so many people had seen for so long about Joan of Arc and the guilt around that was the primary past life scenario that was trying to play through. And once it played through, the next layer could come up. So I see past lives as a way for me to find out what karma I actually need to process in this life. And then other times when I just do generalized clearings, you don't need to be conscious of that. So that's why I say you can receive a dragon invocation and maybe nothing really comes up, but then afterwards you just feel so light and so free. It's because everything that was in your energy field was ready to be released without you being consciously aware of it. And that's what people have been calling for the last 50 years spiritual bypassing, and why you've had to dig deep and really figure out what past life or childhood trauma was causing the disease. And I say the ones that you actually have to consciously process will make themselves known to you. And all the rest of it can just fall off, because so many of us, I've been here for 70,000 lifetimes. I could spend my whole current lifetime processing each and every single fucking lifetime that I needed to get rid of. Or I could trust that my higher self knows way better than I do in my current human form what memories of past lives I actually need to process through the conscious mind, and which ones I can just allow to shift easily from subconscious to superconscious. And okay, yeah, bypass the conscious mind, but we say it in such a bad way. And if you guys saw my post a couple of months ago, when someone gets a coronary bypass, that's a good thing. And they do it because the area of the artery that's all clogged, it would be more dangerous to fix it. So many people spiritual bypassing. I've never understood why that was a bad thing. And then after talking with the dragons and really like getting to understand what the purpose was, it's so that we can move through this shit faster. People spend 10, 20 years ascending and becoming awakened. And again, 2 years ago, I didn't even look like the same person. Definitely didn't act like the same person. The two or three people in my life that have still stuck around, I'll get messages like, girl, I'm getting fucking whiplash watching you change. What is happening? What is going on? And they're freaked out because so many people don't like change. And I wake up every morning like, okay, what's going to change today? Because change is good. Change means moving forward. even losing my best friend and my cat, even crying my eyes out for 3 days straight, and then it being the 12/12 portal and figuring out all this other stuff. All of that is a lesson. And the same thing with past lives, same thing with childhood traumas. Instead of trying to sit there and figure out exactly when in my childhood did everything go wrong, it will present itself. It'll present itself in dreams, or you'll be meditating, or a story will come up. You don't need to do the work to figure it out. You need to trust that you are divinely guided. And that becomes a worthiness issue all over again, to be worthy of having a spiritual entourage that's taking care of you, and all you have to do is play the game. Okay. Streep is my grandma. In that movie is my grandma who passed away, and she always thought she was the matriarch of the family. Yeah, so matriarchy is something that's been warped, though. That's what I was saying before. It's something that you have to realize. It's not so much about the women like being in control. It was about this perfect balance, while patriarchy is about law and order and science and proof in reality, and taking physical action. The feminine is about the arts and music, about intuition, about taking, about passively moving through life, about being more connected to nature, about being able to connect to all of the realms. They believe in ancient Egypt. They've been able to find texts that talk about 360 senses. Okay? And if you know about chakras and how they align with certain glands in your system and how that all lines up, that means that we as humans at some point, probably during the Egyptian times, maybe other times, had access to 360 senses. And now we have access to 5, maybe 6 if you count your intuition. Like, we got 354 more senses to tap into. And more people aren't thinking about that. Like, I always joke, and it's not really a joke, but I would love to figure out how to give my inaugural address as a dragon, so that everyone who's of the conscious mind can see my dragon form, and everyone who isn't consciously aware yet just sees me as a human still. Like that. Those are the fun games that I want to play. I was raised on Star Trek, so my end goal with becoming a multi-billionaire Buddha is actually to create the replicator. I won't probably, but to fund the project that creates the replicator, because if you know anything about Star Trek lineage, they create the replicator, they get rid of money because you can just walk over to this machine and it'll create it for you. They're able to save the planet, and then right around that same time is when the Vulcans show up and they are welcomed into the intergalactic community. And that's what I think, that Earth, we've been isolated. We think we're so alone, but anyone can do an astral travel meditation, and they talk about Octurians, and they talk about Venetians, they talk about the, people from Orion and Lyra, and just like all these crazy star systems that we can connect to when we go into the astral plane, and when we go into 5D, when we go into the spirit realm, when we go to bed every night. But we aren't bridging the gap between 3D and 5D, which is what I'm doing. And honestly, it's why my cat had to die. He told me it's crazy, but he needed to be there as a stronger connection for me to the spirit realm, so that I can help my clients more easily connect to their higher self, so that they don't have to be me when they grow up. They can be their higher self when they grow up. 2 to 3 disasters away from suicide. Yeah. Good morning. That happened the other night listening to you. I felt it pull from the deep and woke so clear the next day. Yes. Christina, I love it. I would love it. What if I don't trust my higher self? What? Excuse you? Well, then you should schedule your dragon invocation that you already paid for, Aaliyah. That's what you should do. The fuck? Don't trust your higher self. What is the purpose of a higher self if you don't trust it? Like, really? Because I used to be this way, so I'm laughing because I'm like, but like, what's the purpose of it, right? what's the point of all of this stuff that you're learning if you're not going to trust? Okay. And Aaliyah, let me tell you, I had such a big problem with this until my birthday this year when I went skydiving. Okay. If any of you had known me, I used to be terrified of fucking heights. Okay, I still can't really go on hikes really well. I did better. So a couple weeks before my birthday, I went on a hike and I hiked up one of the bigger mountains here in Salt Lake, and I did pretty well for how high up we got, because we got high pretty fast, and I was just like, okay, and I was able to like process it through. And then on my birthday, I have trust issues, obviously. So I was less scared about being in the airplane and more scared about the dude who I had strapped to my back. Because I had to trust this complete stranger. I had to trust that he didn't want to die. Okay? That he cared enough for his own life that he was going to protect mine. And jumping out of that airplane, that was when the dragons like completely locked into me, because I could see the whole world and I was like a fucking dragon flying over Salt Lake City. And the guy who was my instructor, like, I looked at the picture and I was all like, we look like we could be a couple. Because he was just like a little bit taller than me. He's definitely good looking. Like, it was not, there were some other guys that could have been the person that was my instructor. And of course, because it was my birthday and I manifest what I want, I had the youngest, most, attractive looking instructor with me. So at least if I was going to die, I was going to die with a really hot guy on my back. But that's what I had to do. I had to trust a complete stranger, Aaliyah, and with my actual life. Like, I jumped out of an airplane from 13,000 feet and had to just trust and believe that the person on my back had me, that he literally had my back and my front and my side and all the parts. He could have had me in all those ways. Shh, don't tell Ryan. I mean, a girl's allowed to imagine. But so when it comes to trust, so I say all this to you because right when I did that was at the same time that the dragon energy was coming into me and locked in, and I was able to trust that I have done so much other work around my worth that it was time for me to create something completely crazy. And that was when I went through another round of dropping a lot of friends, honestly. There was a whole lot of people that could not handle like next level crazy, because I was already pretty out there and crazy for most of my friends. For next level crazy to be saying that I'm channeling in dragon tongue, that I can heal generations in 1 hour, that I can help you to create $1 million business in less than a year, that I can get your sex life, like all the things, because I'm not niche down in that way. I'm a metaphysical badass. Whatever you want, I'm like a fucking genie. Whatever it is that you want in your life, I will teach you how to create that and give you the tools so that later on you can create it again, which is why working with me is in shorter containers than most people, because I'm like a doula, okay? I call myself the dragon doula. You do not hire a doula long term. You have your birthing doula, and you've got like a postpartum doula who probably hang out through the 4th trimester, and then they're gone. Like, you don't hire them again until you have another baby. And that's what I am. Like, you need strong support who's going to tell you to push. And I will push you, and I will push you, and I will push you, because I can see your potential and that you are really actually capable of doing this stuff that the society tells you that you can't, or that you're not worthy of, or that you're being too big or too loud. Scream. You need to scream while you're giving in labor? Go for it. You need to sing, you need to cry, you need to dance. Like, watching a woman in labor, I'm an actual doula as well, so watching a woman in labor is the most beautiful thing. And that's how I feel about watching my clients in these containers. You don't have to be an actual parent for me to work with you, because you're birthing a spiritual baby through your business. You're birthing a book. You're birthing your Hollywood career. Like, whatever it is that you're birthing, you are birthing your dream life. So while, yes, working with spiritual parents, entrepreneurs, seems to be who is most attracted to me, it's definitely not a requirement. My application is my requirement. You have to be able to pay my fee, and you have to pass my test, which is a 10-question questionnaire. and that's it. So let's see. My higher self is going to take me to the underworld. You're afraid that your higher self is going to take you to the underworld. Okay, Aaliyah, you need to read the story of Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of heaven and earth. Okay? Because then she goes into the underworld. She has everything taken away from her. Her crown gets taken, her jewelry gets taken, her robes get taken. So then she's standing in the underworld completely naked. And her twin sister, Ereshkigal, strikes her dead on the fucking spot and hangs her up on a meat hook for 3 days, where she hangs until she's completely still and nothing but bones. And then she is lowered down and her bones light up with golden diamond light, and a new body is resurrected around her, and her sister and her have now merged into the new goddess of heaven, hell, and earth, because her sister was actually her shadow self, and she had to integrate it, and she had to do the whole resurrection thing. It's one of the earlier stories of the Christ story, actually. Going into the underworld is the part that they don't want you to do. Okay, every other coach, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, all those people, everyone who writes The Secret, Joseph Campbell, there's this book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it talks about how every fucking book and every movie you will ever read takes you on a certain arc of this story. You have got the dude, and he's got these struggles, and he meets a master, and then he has his first fight, and he gets his ass kicked, and then he finds out that the magic is within him, and then he goes into a seemingly impossible thing, and then he wins all the money and the treasure and the girl, and then he goes ahead and, he's accepted back into the tribe as the leader or whatever the fuck, right? Did I not just describe every single movie from Star Wars to Lion King, right? Fucking Princess Bride. They all have this same story arc, but it's this side of the arc, and they don't show you what happens afterwards. So to get to get to happily ever after, you have to go through the dark night of the soul, which, Aaliyah, you were actually just doing a post about that the other day. You then have everything you think you ever wanted, and if you've ever seen any sequel to any fucking Disney movie, what happens? The princess is bored, right? And she essentially gives it all up again, and then they just take the princess on a hero's journey. But the actual process is giving everything up and realizing that none of it matters. So when you go, the Nana story is the story of what I just said, the then what. It's okay if you die, that you still have value, that you still have merit, that you still have magic, that your brilliance is deep in your bones. Your bones are the only part of you that will survive. They will find your bones, unless you get cremated. But, we're finding bones from 100,000 years ago. We're not finding hearts, we're not finding brains, we're not finding those things. We're finding the bones, because the bones are the one part of you that are connected the most to the earth, and the bones is where your brilliance is and where your value lies. We think it's in the heart, but it's actually like when you feel it in your bones, when you know something. So your brilliance, your knowing, not so much your value, your knowing and your brilliance are locked in your bones, which, again, as a body worker, I specialize in a modality called structural alignment. So I help with bones. So you can see my collarbones. They are actually flat, okay? They're like this. Most people collarbones look like this, okay? They're like in a V. So even though their head is up, if you looked at their collarbones, they're like this. It's because all of this is so tight, because they have the weight of the world on their shoulders, actually. It's energetically what it is, and also like actual problems. So my job as a massage therapist is to literally restructure bones. So I go deep enough to work to the bone and pull that trauma out from the tissue, and then I do the same thing energetically through the calls that we do. So a lot of my clients will notice that getting massages in conjunction with working with me helps to move through some of the physical symptoms a lot easier, because they're able to release it in a really, you trust your massage therapist. So, all right, now let's get into, okay, now let's get into what's next. This part will be fast. So the next big thing is that this Wednesday, I'm having the Raising Dragons Masterclass. So I'm going to start typing in links here, and I will make sure that I put the right one this time. So the Raising Dragons Masterclass, it's a 3-hour class. It's a 2-hour lecture and then 1 hour afterwards of question and answer. Q&A, there we go. And it's really designed for those parents who have kids that are considered that they're just having a really hard time with. You're either having problems that they don't listen. So mostly these are going to be kids that are still living at home, right? And probably the younger teenagers, although if you have older teenagers that this applies to them, awesome. But you know, maybe you're having problems getting them to do chores around the house, or they just don't listen to you, or they don't want to do their homework. Maybe you have like a moral issue between like, I send them to school all day so I can work, but I am working with people who I listen to all the shit that went wrong during the school year. So like, that's a huge one actually. Maybe your child has been diagnosed on spectrum, but they're like barely on spectrum, or even if they're like very autistic. I've worked with clients with all manner of physical and mental disabilities in themselves as well as their children. And there are certain ways that you can learn to work through that aren't based in the medical field as much. So I'm not a doctor. I obviously can't like tell you exactly what's wrong with each of your kids, especially if you have gotten diagnosed. But I can tell you that there's no 2 diagnoses tests that are the same. So it's hard to even get a second opinion. And especially if you start looking like outside of your networks, or if you talk to homeopathic. Spectrums are weird because technically we're all on a spectrum, right? And we are just not on that spectrum. Like, it's just a weird word to say because at some point or another we all could be showing signs of what they consider autism, based on our emotional state. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be, I have it all right here actually, let's see. We're also going to be talking about how to like remembering how long it took us to unlearn some of the indoctrination. We're going to learn how to raise kids to be world leaders, to not have to hire life coaches. So this is all it's a 3-hour masterclass. It's a 2-hour, really condensed, really intense class that's going to really help open your mind and get you prepared for winter break. So for those of you who are about to spend 10 to 21 days with your kids, it's going to be absolutely life-changing for you. It's $100. The link's right there. That's the first thing. So that's happening this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's going to be on Zoom. The recording will be available for life. So if you have to catch the replay, you can do that. It's like, seriously, anyone who has a kid, if you have a kid and you consider yourself spiritual at all, this class is for you, because it's also going to talk about how to incorporate your spiritual discipline with your children, giving you ideas from all ages from 0 to 18 on how they can start working with these tools that maybe you have not figured out how to teach them about yet. And also why it is that all kids love dragons and why that's actually the easiest way to teach them. Dragons have been in literally every single, I have a whole website that I found that there's over 600 dragons referenced from all over the world, from Maya to Babylonia, from Japan to Norway, sea serpents to flying fire breathers. Like, dragons are everywhere because they helped create the earth. Anyway, so that's this Wednesday. This coming Saturday is going to be the winter solstice live stream in my group. So I'm going to leave the group here. It's Ancient Ways Alchemic Society. And in that group, so this is my free group that you can join me in. I don't go live on this. I will be doing Sunday morning coffee with Caryn's live, I think, in there from now on. I might be doing them here, so I still haven't decided that. But in the Awa Society, Awe Society, which I didn't know this, but Awe is apparently like an African goddess of transformation. I did not know that when I created my society and was like deciding what the group's like shortened version was going to be, and I just put Awa Society. So the Awe or Awa Society, we do every month a new moon ritual and a full moon ritual, and then if there's any other religious or spiritual holidays going on. So a lot of it focuses on the pagan holidays, but we also have some Buddhists in there that are teaching us about that. There's a couple of people of Jewish traditions, trying to get one of them to do a Hanukkah live. So there's going to be a lot of live streams in there in the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be the live on the winter solstice. I'm going to be doing one on Christmas Day where we talk about Christmas as well as do the new moon ritual, because there is a total solar eclipse over India and Indonesia on Christmas, or on the 26th, or however that works time-wise. Then I'll be doing another live stream right as we go into the new year, and talking about setting intentions for the new year. So that's a really awesome group. Other people go live at random times to teach us about different things. It's not just me always talking. I have a guest. It's going to be my friend Randy Gerber. She's really all about claiming the magic within and lighting your own way when everything else is really dark. So she's actually going to be doing the winter solstice live stream, which is going to be awesome. So that is another way to get a little bit closer to me. That's where you can go to ask questions. If you have specific questions that you don't want to maybe be asking on like one of these, but you would like input from multiple people, you can ask in there. It really is a society that I want more metaphysicians to be able to go to have validation of what they're doing is like not completely insane, where you can get other ideas of what other people are doing. So people share their money rituals, they share their love rituals, all these things. We all share that information. And I kind of just like imagine an old school, I don't know why it's all old white men, but you know what I'm talking about, like those old scholarly places where they would go and they would just like drink wine or drink their old fashions and smoke their cigars and talk about very heady intellectual stuff. That's kind of what I imagine the society, but with all women and men and everyone from all different backgrounds talking about spirituality and about old ways of thinking that we are now coming back to, because we're realizing how much was destroyed in the patriarchal reign of the last 5,000 years and heading back into, again, that matriarchal balance. So that is in the Awa Society. Let's see. Then for those of you who are here locally in Salt Lake, on Sunday, the fourth Sunday of every month, I do a dragon circle at Synchronicities in Sandy. I will have to figure out what that link is because I don't remember it. So that happens it's what I want society. Yeah, it's what I want society in general to look like, right, Elia? Yeah, me too. I would love it. So the Dragon Circle is a live invocation. We do a training last month we did Kuan Yin's pink dragon. This month we're going to be talking about the golden Christed dragon and his energy, especially since Christmas is coming up. He's also a bringer of light and connecting you to your 13th dimensional self, which now that we've opened the 1212 portal, you have access to go up to, you can literally go and have a conversation with Source herself, but most people wouldn't be able to remember that. It's kind of like, do any of you guys see Dogma and how it's not as bad as like if you hear God speak that your heart's going to explode, but it feels like your heart is exploding. So it used to be that like, yeah, you couldn't listen to God talk because your head would explode or your heart would explode or whatever. Now you can, but most people are not calibrated to remember it. So they're going to pass out and other things are going to happen. So I help you to be able to calibrate. And that's why connecting to your dragon is so important, because dragons are source energy. All life came from the heart womb of dragons, in case you're wondering. Okay, so I'm just finding this event. So the Dragon Circle, that's going on next week. And then after that, okay, I can't find this. I'll just come back and post that one. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, and then woohoo, the first week. I'm so excited. I might open this early, guys, because I'm just so excited about it. I don't know. Let me know if you think I should open it early. But on the 26th of Christmas, so the day after Christmas, I am opening up registration for the Dragon Flight School. Oh, I'm so excited. So it's going to be for 12 people who want to go through. This is the beta run of a 12-week program, 10 or 12 weeks. The outline is, I'm giving it 12 weeks in case we need 2 weeks to like, they're going to be like the debriefing. So there's really like 10 weeks of content and then like 2 weeks of like I said, you have your doula, right? And she'll come and check on you for a couple of weeks after you have that baby to make sure that you're like eating and things are going well. So it's $7,000. There's going to be 4 VIP spots available. So it's group calls, a private group on Facebook. We're going to be talking about how to really create a life that is so pleasurable, so filled with purpose, that you're so passionate that you want to wake up every morning and you just can't wait to see what happens next. We're going to get rid of all of the anxiety and depression and worry that has been plaguing you. We're going to talk about how to set yourself up for the next couple of years of being able to know that there's a certain goal and you don't really need to know how it's going to work out. And I'm also going to teach you the formula of how to manifest on demand. And that really is, for so long it's been, just focus on the what and the why and leave the how and the when to the universe. And now we have access to the when. You still have to concede the how, but we are getting closer to being able to determine the when. So I will be going through that. So that's the Dragon Flight School. That is a group program. It is going to be $7,000. I may do an early bird special. I may not. I don't know. Just depends. And then the VIP spots, there's going to be 4 of them. So 12 people total. 8 of them will be at the regular. 4 of you will be at the VIP. That's the $10,000 rate, where you get access to me on Voxer during it. And you'll also get 2 60-minute breakout sessions with me during the course as well, for you to schedule whenever you need them. So they don't have to be scheduled exactly when you, like, there's not going to be like, okay, you have to do it this day. You can just call me or like have the scheduler and be like, okay, shit, yeah, I need this right now. So that's happening. Like I said, that will be launching the day after Christmas. It's awesome. I think I might run an early bird special if you sign up before the end of the year. And then starting on January 1st, it'll be that $7,000, $10,000 offer. That's just coming to me right now. So we'll have to regurgitate on that a little bit. And then that school actually starts on February 1st. So you will have until the week before to register, and then I will need that week to get everything ready and to code the container with those people who are going to be in the space. So it's definitely already, it's already energetically filled. So if you are feeling like you want to be in it, it's most likely because you are in it and you're just like getting that hit. Oh yeah, I need to figure that out, because I've already energetically filled the container and now we're just physically creating it. So it's the second thing, and then, sorry, not the second thing, that's like the 5th thing. And then the final thing is that as of January 1st, I am changing my private coaching completely. Right now, you can get either a 6-week or 12-week coaching container of weekly calls. You get a dragon invocation, at least one at the beginning, if not multiple, depending on what's going on in your life. Voxer support. It's your very basic, quote unquote, but not basic at all, one-on-one coaching container for either 6 weeks or 12 weeks. That's what I have right now. I do have spaces for that still open, because I do have quote unquote high turnover, right? Because I only go in 6 to 12 weeks. And I'm always open to be able to take more clients on until I decide that I don't want to take a client. And then maybe I'll take a couple of months off. That's what's amazing. So right now you can work with me. 6 weeks is $7,000 investment or $6,000 full pay, and 12 weeks is a $12,000 investment or a $10,000 full pay. If you want information on that, I will leave the application there. So that's through the end of the year. If you are deciding, you know what, I want to get this, I'm ready, I want to have all of these available to me, I want to figure out how to fly on my own, I don't want to be in a group program. I don't do group programs. I prefer that individual bespoke attention. And then, so that's what it is right now to work with me. And as of January 1st, I'm changing it to a 4-month package. The 4-month package includes a weekly 90-minute calls, access to me on Boxer or WhatsApp or whatever, walkie-talkie, so you can talk to me in between, and also a VIP weekend where I will come to you. We will stay in the swankiest hotel in your city, and you will have me for a lunch, a dinner, and a breakfast. So we'll have those together. I will bring my massage table. We'll do body work together. We'll have some breakout sessions, and it'll be this VIP weekend where you get to really feel into your new body, your new space. We will do a lot of the more physical work that it's hard to explain, or like really make sure that you're doing it properly over the internet. All of that together. So that's a 4-month program, and that is going to be $60,000 or a $50,000 full pay. So yes, I am increasing my prices by 5 times, and that is because I am not playing around with lack mindset anymore. I am not prepared. Oh, I'm fully prepared. I'm bored with the amount of repetition there is on a lower playing field, and I'm ready to help those of you who want to become multimillionaires, who are ready to become Grammy award-winning singers, who are ready to become the next Oprah Winfrey or the next Lady Gaga, who are ready to become the next prime minister or president, or to have multiple best-selling books, to homeschool your kids, to do it all. Remember what I said at the beginning, all of my entire purpose is to show you that you have the strength, the capacity, and the power to birth your dream life and belong in it, to know that all of the incredible, amazing, magical, miraculous things that are happening in your life, there's not a shoe that's going to drop. The bottom's not going to fall out, because you are so solid in your worth, and you know exactly who you are, you know exactly what you are, and you know exactly how you serve not only yourself, not only your family, but on the entire global plane. And you have a clear path as to what it is your life purpose is. Your oversoul's purpose for your current 3D reality, and playing big. Play big. Go big or go home. There is nothing to be ashamed of. There is no fear. If you are already, you're freaking out about those numbers, it's because, remember, when you freak out, what is it when you're getting triggered? You get triggered by someone because they are showing you a part of yourself that you yourself are not capable of accepting. Okay? So if you just got triggered as fuck over me 5 timesing my prices, y'all have to realize that the dragons came to me in August. I've been in beta mode. I haven't been calling it beta mode, but I've been in beta mode since August. And now that I've seen the incredible results, I've known since the middle of November that I'd be increasing my prices, and I have mentioned it here or there, but now this is like my official announcement. So if you've been wanting to work with me one-on-one, I highly suggest you reach out to me before the end of the year. Or if you're ready, let's just sign you up for that $50K right now and get you scheduled, because the VIP mastermind, the VIP weekends will be halfway through your package. So 2 months in. So it's good to get flights scheduled and all of that stuff. So that is what's up for 2020. Let's see what's else going on. Oh, and I have a book coming out. So I am in the process of writing the book on the dragons, really diving into, there's a beautiful glossary in there that really explains dragons in the most appropriate way. There is an entire section on analogies. So if you see like certain types of dragons, if they come to you in more of a snake-like form, or maybe they come as a water form, or maybe they always have wings, or maybe they are just walking around on the earth all the time, what each of those mean, what it means if you see claws, what it means if you just see the wings, if you just see the fire breath, all of that's in there. The step-by-step process on how to really know your worth. Yeah, big things. So the book is coming out. It will be available spring equinox. So the weekend of the spring equinox, which is either the 20th or 21st of March, is when that book is coming. So that is, that's everything that's going on in my neck of the universe for the first quarter of 2020, and other things are going to happen. I know that there's a few more master classes that are like ringing around in my brain. I'm not exactly sure. I might start making that a monthly thing where I just every month have a $100 3-hour masterclass. That's the beautiful thing. That's the most beautiful thing about my life, is that I don't need to know it. I don't need to know how it's going to work. I don't need to know who's going to be in my program. I don't need to know exactly what I'm going to be teaching. I have rough outlines. I don't need to go sit there and create all of the content before even telling you guys about it, because it's going to change based on who actually steps up. I know that I've energetically filled the container, but right now there are multiple people that could actually step up and physically take each one of these spots, right? So energetically, I have 4 new clients that sign up by the end of the year. I can feel you. I know where you are. I am waiting for you guys to take the step, because this is the thing about free agency. I can do all of the work and sit here and know, and I just get to sit and be patient. I get to be compassionately curious as to who takes the leap, who actually is willing to step into the labyrinth, okay? Because again, you can tell by my energy, by being in my presence, that when you come into a container with me, it ain't nothing like anything you have ever been in before. And it will absolutely change you, and you will resurrect. You will come back a completely different person. And yeah, you'll probably have gone through hell, but you will have handled it with such poise, with such grace, with such dignity and divinity, that when you emerge on the other side of this container, you know that there is nothing and no one that has power over you. You know that you are the sovereign creator, that you are fully manifested source energy who just decided to play a game in 3D. And that's all this is. It's just a game. And the only rule is don't die. So, does anybody have any questions? I still have a little coffee left. I want to see if I can pull up a couple of these things. Let's see, big things. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. This has been super amazing. I am so excited for 2020 and all the things that are happening. I didn't even mention, we still have dragon invocations. Those are still there, and those are actually the one thing that is not changing in price. They are still going to be $147 until, if they ever change. They are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful ways to get introduced to dragon magic, and they include a 3-card card reading from my most favorite deck, which is usually right here, but it's not. Oh, this is right here. My most favorite deck on dragons, and a channeling, so you receive your own invocation. Vocal toning, it's your soul frequency being toned back to you through my vocal cords, as well as essentially a breakthrough clarity session. And those are the other thing I didn't mention. Starting in 2020, I am going to be offering breakthrough sessions, so 2-hour sessions that are going to be running at $2,000. So let me just, yeah, that's it. So I'm going to put in a couple of these links really quick, and then I think that we are absolutely good to go, and we're going to have a great Sunday, right, y'all? Yes, we are. Let's see. Click on this, copy this. There we go. So here is the Dragon Circle for those of you who are in Salt Lake. And for any of you who are interested in working with me one-on-one, let's go ahead and I will leave here my one-on-one application. So this is, if you feel ready, if you feel called that you want to go into a container in a way that is going to absolutely change your life, that's going to make it so that you have complete and total clarity on where the next 4 months of your life are leading, then this is definitely for you, because there's no point when you're living in the synchronistic grid for you to be trying to plan more than a quarter at a time. So you guys heard my plans through March. There are some things that I can already feel through summer, but there's too many changes, especially, again, it's been a quarter. It's been a little bit over a quarter since all this stuff came through in my dragons, and my life has changed so much. And that's the beauty of tapping into metaphysics, is that you don't have to do everything in the slow way. There are lots of shortcuts. There's lots of ways that you can get exactly what you want, exactly when you want, but it all comes down to being worthy of it. Do you actually feel worthy of receiving it? Do you actually feel worthy of doing the work that will merit you receiving it? So, cool. Everything's right there for you guys. I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. I love you all. Mwah. I'll talk to you soon.